Mathematics 1. Telling, time. Objectives. At the end of the lesson, you should be able to read and write time in hours and minutes. Find time by counting hours and minutes. On the clock's face are numbers from 1 to 12. Notice also the lines around the clock's face. Each line corresponds to 1 minute. There are 60 lines in all. They represent the 60 minutes in an hour. A clock has two hands, a short hand and a long hand. The short hand indicates the hour of the day. The longer hand tells the minutes of an hour. We use a colon to separate the hour and minute. This is what a clock looks like. This clock is called an analog clock. For example, the short hand is pointing to number 3, and the long hand is pointing to number 12. This means that the time is 3 o'clock. Look at how we write it. Here's another example. The short hand is pointing to number 10, while the long hand is pointing to number 12. This means that the time is 10 o'clock. Look at how we write it. For our last example, the short hand is pointing to number 4, while the long hand is pointing to number 12. This means that the time is 4 o'clock. Look at how we write it. It's time to know the longer hand. As you can see, there are numbers from 1 to 12. To tell the minute, just skip count by 5. Number 12 is 0. Number 1 is 5. Number 2 is 10. Number 3 is 15. Number 4 is 20. Number 5 is 25. Number 6 is 30. Number 7 is 35. Number 8 is 40. Number 9 is 45. Number 10 is 50. And number 11 is 55. For example, the long hand is pointing to number 5. Let's skip count by 5 until we reach the 5. 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25. It means 25 minutes. Here's another example. The long hand is pointing to number 6. Let's skip count by 5 until we reach 6. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30. It means 30 minutes. If it's pointing to number 3, it is 15 minutes. If it is pointing to number 9, it means 45 minutes, and so on. Now that you already learned the function of the small hand and the long hand, we can now practice telling the time. Let's have an example. The short hand is pointing to number 7, while the longer hand is pointing to number 1. What time is it now? That means the hour is 7. Then, we skip count by 5 to find the minutes until we reach 1. 5. Since 1 means 5 minutes, the time is 7:05. Let's have another example. The short hand is pointing to number 10, while the long hand is pointing to number 2. What time is it now? That means the hour is 10. Then, we skip count by 5 to find the minutes until we reach 2. 5, 10. So the time is 10. Here's a challenge. Look at the clock. The short hand of the clock points between numbers 2 and 3. Even though the short hand points to the middle, the hour still falls under 2. So the hour is 2. Then, remember to skip count by 5 for the minutes. The long hand is pointing to number 6. Let's do skip counting by 5 until we reach 6. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30. So the time is 2:30. Look at the second example. The short hand of the clock points to between 7 and 8. Even though the short hand points to the middle, the hour still falls under 7. So, the hour is 7. The long hand points to number 9. Let's do skip counting by 5 until we reach 9. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, and 45. So the time is 7:45. Here's our final example. The short hand of the clock points to between 8 and 9. Even though the short hand points to the middle, the hour still falls under 8. So the hour is 8. The long hand points to number 6. Let's do skip counting by 5 until we reach 6. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30. So the time is 8:30. Practice exercises. Get your pencil and paper. What time is it now?